If you've ever felt unsatisfied or like something has been missing from your life, but you're really unsure what it could be or why you feel this way, then this episode is for you. Hello, welcome back to Feel Good Lab, the podcast where we explore the intersection between career success and personal growth and all the stuff that happens in between that actually gets us to where we want to be. We all want to live happy and fulfilled lives. That's kind of one of the main reasons I wanted to start this podcast, was to explore these different areas of our lives that help us be happy and fulfilled and satisfied so that we can actually focus on growing our careers, growing our businesses, and just thriving in life in general. Today, we're covering a topic that is essential to all of this, and it is the topic of getting to know yourself better and really learning how to define your needs so that you can be the best possible version of you. Knowing your needs and understanding yourself better will help you understand what actually drives your happiness, your motivation, your energy, which is all things that we need to do better in all the other areas of our lives, like our relationship and our career and within our families and within our homes. So by the end of this episode, you will not only know yourself better, but you will have a tangible needs database that is personalized to you, and you'll have an actionable plan to make sure that all of those needs actually get met. Let's start off with my feel-good moment of the week. My feel-good moment of the week is actually one that I experienced a couple of days ago when I was sitting in a mastermind that I'm a part of. One of my friends, Kevin, hosts this amazing mastermind filled with these brilliant creators, and we meet every 2 weeks just to really discuss our creator goals, our business goals, and just to put our heads together to help each other grow in our creative businesses. And I've actually missed out on several weeks of masterminds because of my month-long stint in Europe, taking that vacation, taking that time off, both from work, but also from the sort of social engagements as well. So it's really been quite a while since I've connected and gathered with this specific group, and we had our usual structure of like just chatting, seeing how we're all doing, where we're at in our strategies, in our goals, and then we do this thing called hot seats where each person gets to present a problem that they would like some additional like great minds to think about. And we started working on this. And when it got to my turn, after hearing what everyone else is going through and the unique things that they're working on, it helped me dig a little deeper about what the issue actually was. So I have been struggling with what content I want to post on my main channel for so long, because that channel has seen so many evolutions of topics and phases of my life. And it's just gotten to this point where my audience and my community there is so divided that a portion of it wants vlogs, a portion of it wants talking head videos, a portion of it wants productivity or career or tech. And it's gotten to that point where I don't know how to meet those needs of my community. And so really being able to verbalize that frustration and then hear all of these amazing like opinions and pieces of advice from these creators made me feel so validated and, I don't know, comforted, because every single one of us is going through our very own unique set of issues and struggles and hardships, and just the feeling of having a group that cares enough to actually give their true, honest, genuine opinion about something using their expertise like warmed my heart. So that's my warm, fuzzy, feel-good moment of the week. That specific conversation led to a lot of growth just even in that moment, but I know that it's going to lead to a lot more growth because it's given me a lot of more structured things to think about over the next couple of weeks. So yeah, anyways, if any of you are listening to this, thank you so much for the support. Okay, let's dive in and really get to know ourselves in this episode and really start to define what our needs are. So what are these needs that I keep talking about? I am not talking about our basic human needs for survival, like food, air, water. I'm not really talking about Maslow's hierarchy of needs, which I guess it does blend into that a little bit. But the needs that I'm specifically talking about are the emotional, psychological, and physical needs that we have as a human that help us feel that sense of satisfaction, fulfillment, purpose, and joy. So, for example, your emotional needs could be love, belonging, validation, connection. And then your psychological needs could be things like your autonomy, your purpose, your self esteem, or your confidence. And then physical needs are stuff like movement, something like doing yoga, or even just stretching, things that your body needs to just feel good. Another way to think about needs are they are the things that if we start to ignore, they're going to bring this underlying feeling of frustration, anxiety, and dissatisfaction to our lives. Like if you think about the days where you're just feeling a little bit off, you're just feeling low, you're not really sure what's going on. If we actually dig deep into that feeling and the reason behind it will typically lead us to knowing that one or many of our needs are currently being unmet. So, taking work, for example, when I overwork, it means that I am putting more of my attention and spending more of my hours in a day focused towards sitting at my desk and doing work. But when that happens, I often feel this extra sense of like anxiety and discomfort, both physically and mentally, as the exhaustion and tiredness starts to hit. And yes, it could be that maybe I'm not getting enough sleep, or maybe I am not closing my stress cycle by exercising. Those things are going to make me feel that discomfort. But behind that, because I am putting most of my attention towards work, there are other needs that I have that completely are being ignored, like my need for connection and my need for affection, and even something like validation now that I am a freelancer and that I work for myself, because I don't have a manager or a boss behind me saying, good job, keep going, you're doing this right. Like it's just me. It's just me putting out the work and either hoping that my community likes it or my clients like it. And oftentimes that praise or validation that we sometimes seek just won't be given to us. We have to almost like reach for that and accomplish that ourselves. And that's kind of why it's such an important exercise for us to actually learn to define these needs and be really clear about what they are. Knowing your needs is the only way that you can actually execute on them and reach that sense of purpose and fulfillment and satisfaction. There are a ton of research and studies that actually link that need satisfaction to our self-satisfaction, life satisfaction, and emotional well-being. And there was actually a specific study done in 2013 that showed unmet needs are often the root cause to stress, anxiety, and depression. Like that is how important those things really are to our lives. Besides that level of self-awareness and understanding that it gives us, it also can help us make better decisions to make sure that every move we make is well aligned to our goals and our values, because that is really what's at the basis of our needs, right? Your needs are built off of the things that you value, the things that truly bring fulfillment to your life. By understanding your needs, you can also start to build deeper connections and stronger relationships as well, because the more you understand yourself and you're able to shine that mirror on yourself, you are going to start building a level of emotional intelligence that will help you understand the needs of your loved ones as well, like your friends, your family, your partner. And really, that mirror is going to show you also your fears, your desires, your worries, your hopes, your dreams. Like, it all comes back to just really having a clear, high level image of who we are as a human being. And of course, understanding your own needs is going to make you a better communicator as well, because how are you going to be a good communicator if you don't even know what you need? And oftentimes that is one of the toughest conversations you can have with someone, is really sitting down and stating, these are the things that I need in this relationship or within myself, and this is how you could help me achieve them. If we're able to have those conversations in a clear and concise way, it makes all the other conversations that we have in life, in our careers, feel a lot easier, because communicating your emotions and your feelings is the toughest thing. There's this quote and idea from the book The Mountain Is You by Brianna Weiss, which I highly, highly recommend you read if you're on your journey to self-improvement and growth right now, because it really did wonders for me when I was really going through it. But the quote and the idea is, we as humans actually aren't wired for happiness. We are wired for comfort. And yes, to some of us, those two things may seem very similar, or like they could be the same thing, right? For us to be happy, we want to be comfortable in our lives, in our homes, in our relationships. But what she really means by that quote is that oftentimes the things that we get used to and the things that we are comfortable with aren't the things that are actually going to push us towards growth and fulfillment, because it's easy for us as humans to develop comfort towards things that aren't great for us. And when you start building that self-awareness, we really start to realize, what are the actual things that make us happy and that make us better as human beings? And that's the clarity that's actually going to push us to take the actions that we need to feel true joy and happiness. So here's the fun part where we actually get to define our needs. To make this really easy for us, I included a PDF in the show notes that includes a needs inventory. And this is actually something that was shared with me by my therapist in one of my sessions when I was really trying to figure out, okay, what do I need as a human being? Like, why do I feel so crap? Essentially, the needs inventory just gives you several different categories of needs that we could be feeling or wanting. So there is a connection category, there is a physical well-being category, there is an honesty category, a play category, a peace category. I did talk about this briefly in one of my last episodes as well. So if you have this PDF already, just refer back to it. But under each of those category titles, you'll have a bunch of different words that describe needs. So for example, under the connection category, we have words like acceptance, affection, appreciation, belonging, communication, closeness, companionship, empathy, intimacy. These are all terms that could define our specific needs that fall under that connection category. Then under physical well-being, there's stuff like movement, rest, sexual expression, safety, shelter, touch. Under honesty, there's authenticity, integrity. For play, there's joy, there's humor. For peace, there's communion, ease, equality. For autonomy, there's freedom, independence, space, spontaneity. So look at this needs inventory and just sit with it for a moment and see what words really jump out of the page for you. Some of the words that jump out to me are acceptance, affection, communication, companionship, consistency, intimacy, safety, to be seen and understood, warmth, freedom, inspiration, challenge and accountability, and creativity. You can pick a couple or you can pick many, but jot down the ones that make you feel something. This is going to be a great start to really understanding and learning how to actually label the things that make you feel good. It's also important that you actually write down or jot down somewhere what these needs are, because we are going to create an actionable plan to help you meet those needs a little later on in the episode. But before we do that, some other exercises that you can do to really help you dig a little deeper and understand what your needs are journaling. Of course, I talk about this all the time, but journaling is truly one of my favorite tools and strategies that I use to help build my self-awareness and and really dig deeper into what I have going on in my life right now. I think sometimes there's this misconception around journaling that, oh, it's just me kind of like recording my day or writing in a diary. But really, the act of journaling can be whatever you need it to be. And to me, yes, I do record my day to day life, and I like to jot down what I've got going on that day, what I did that day, what I'm grateful for, what has been going on in my life. But I also like to use it as a self reflection tool and a growth tool and a tool to help me understand myself so that I can use that data and information to actually set goals and achievements that actually align with who I want to be. I know journaling doesn't come easily for everyone, so I do have some prompts that are really going to guide you towards thinking about what your root needs are. And those prompts are: what activities energize me? If you think about the things that actually bring you energy, or even the people that bring you energy, you start to understand and start to be able to see patterns that could help you define what fulfillment looks like. On the flip side of that, what drains you? Because the things that drain you typically are the things that are causing your needs to be unmet or are the opposite of what your true need is. What do you need to feel safe or valued or heard? Is it something like quality time or affection or validation? When do I feel the most confident and capable? I really like this one because it just has such a inspirational, like happy, positive note to it. Because when you're looking at the times that you feel the most yourself and at ease and confident and radiant, you can take that and create a work back from it to identify like what are the things that are making you feel that way. And then if you're wanting to dig more into your emotions, you can ask yourself questions like, in what ways do I show love to others? Or how do I prefer to receive love? What are my biggest fears and how do they impact my daily life? When was the last time I felt truly fulfilled and what contributed to that feeling? What are some of my non-negotiables in relationships? You'll actually be surprised to find that a lot of the things that we are hoping to find in a partner are actually just different ways that we need our needs to be met. What does success look like to me and why is it important to me? And then if I had unlimited resources, how would I spend my time and what does that actually reveal about my needs? Just so that you don't have to rewind or pause this episode, I'll put all of the journaling prompts that I mentioned, and I'll include a few more in the show notes as well, so that you can always refer back to that to be able to find them. Something else that I find can really clearly show you what your needs are is to practice listening to yourself and your body. Oftentimes, your body will actually tell you when there's a specific need that is being unmet, and that can be shown through exhaustion, dissatisfaction, anxiety, stress, frustration, anger, sadness, like all of these different emotions that we may feel in our day to day can actually be a little pointer into the things that we currently need and aren't receiving. So something that I have been trying to practice, because it isn't easy and it's not something that you can just turn on, but practicing is the key word here. But the thing that I've been trying to practice is learning how to take a pause when you realize that you are feeling these things so that you can give yourself a moment to see if you can identify what the unmet need is. So if you're feeling off during a work day, take a second, like take your hands off the keyboard or off the tools that you're using, or just take a step back and evaluate how you are feeling. Label that feeling, whether it is stress or anxiety or discomfort, and then try to go a layer deeper and think about what could be causing that. And when I say go a layer deeper, I mean the reason for that discomfort is typically not going to be the exact thing that's sitting in front of you. Because like Emily Nagoski says in the book Burnout, just because you remove the stressor doesn't mean you removed the stress. So yes, the impending deadlines at work could be causing your stress in that moment. It is the stressor, but the unmet need behind that could be that you haven't closed your stress cycle in a week. You haven't done any exercise or done any creative work or laughed or hugged someone. You haven't done the things that you need to close that stress cycle and actually remove that negative feeling from your body. If you're hanging out with a friend and you just have this nagging feeling that something is off, maybe they're just not someone who meets your needs. Maybe they're not someone who makes you feel safe or secure, or they aren't showing love the way that you need to receive love. I think being able to take that pause is so important when it just comes to like emotional management in general, because oftentimes we just kind of bulldoze through life and we feel the things and then we move on and then we forget about it. And we forget that our body actually carries these emotions forward into the rest of your days because you haven't dealt with them properly. So the next time you're feeling like something is off, take a pause and just practice listening to your body and listening to yourself a little bit more and just tuning in to see if you can find what the reasoning for that discomfort could be. Knowing your needs and getting to know yourself this way is just step one. It is an amazing step forward, and that awareness is already going to take you so much further than where you are currently. But to actually take that awareness a step further, after you've written down what your needs are, I want you to start writing down the things that you think will help you feel like those needs are being met. And I want you to separate them into a couple of different categories. There's the self category. So what are the things that I could personally do to meet these needs? Then there could be the friendship category or the family category. What are the things that the people around me could do to help me feel like these needs are being met? And then if you're in a relationship, I think it's important to separate that from your friends and family as well, because oftentimes the person that we're in a relationship with is the person that we spend the most time with. So what are the things that my partner could do to help me feel like these needs are being met? I always like to share my personal examples because I feel like it could be helpful for you to see how I've written them down while you're sort of figuring out your own plan. But for me, for example, for my need of safety, the way that I think I could fulfill that need for myself is actually by taking the time to celebrate the small wins, because safety for me doesn't just come from like physical safety. It could also come from financial safety or the mental safety that I need to feel like secure about myself. So by celebrating the small wins, I'm kind of reminding myself like, okay, I'm growing. I am doing things well. I am moving forward towards my goals. And that in itself could make me feel a sense of like financial safety, mental safety, and just overall security in self. What I wrote down for how my friends and family can make me feel safer is to always hold space for me to like take the time to let them know how I'm feeling. I am somebody who really struggles with sharing the more negative things in life. Like I struggle to reach out for help or to speak up when I feel low and when I feel shitty. I oftentimes want to share my joy and happiness and inspiration and motivation, but when I am feeling low and shitty and sad and just not great about life, I find it really, really hard to actually communicate that to the people I love. And so communicating that to them and then also asking them to hold space for me to like work on being able to talk about my emotions a little bit better, it's going to make me feel, one, that I have a safe space to do that, but two, that the people around me aren't going to leave just because I'm not sharing enough. With every single need, I think the way that you show up for yourself to meet them and the way that other people can show up to meet them will totally differ. And the meaning of that need could sometimes even change between those different interpretations. And that is totally normal and that is fine. Because like you saw in my example, the way that I can show myself safety is a different form of safety than the safety that I need from my friends. So go through and make those different categories and write down what are the actual like actionable things that you need to meet those needs. Besides literally communicating what your needs are and how people can show up for you, another way that you can start communicating your needs is by setting boundaries. Another thing that is so much easier said than done. This was something that I didn't even realize that I wasn't doing, because you would think naturally as human beings, we know how to set boundaries for ourselves, but that is just not the case. As somebody who has been a people pleaser for most of my life, I realized in yet another therapy session that I had never set a boundary like in my life, both in work, in my relationships, in my friendships. It was like anything goes in my life. I kind of just went with the flow. And if people needed something, like I was there. And yes, it feels good to be needed and to help people. But for me, that was causing mass exhaustion and depletion in energy because I can't be everything for everyone. So I had to really take the time to figure out what boundaries I needed to start setting so that I can actually like recharge and renew myself and have energy to do the things that I wanted to do and accomplish the things that I needed to accomplish. So, as a part of this exercise, also start thinking about what are the boundaries that you need to set, because sometimes the fulfillment of a need doesn't just come from like inaction, it could come from an inaction as well. So the boundaries could be something like learning to say no at work if you feel like your plate is already full, or maybe not even no. Start by saying, hey, I would love to be able to do this for you, but here are the other things that are on my plate. Can you help me prioritize this and let me know which one is more mission critical? Setting boundaries could also look like saying no to social events because you know that you are feeling exhausted because of work and you just need time for yourself to recharge. It could also look like saying no to helping a friend because in that moment you just don't have the time to do it. You don't have any time to spare, or you want to prioritize self-care day or time to yourself. This process of learning to set boundaries and protecting your schedule is like the simplest hard thing ever. But in actuality, this is really just another way for us to communicate our needs. And then in that same vein of protecting our schedule, we need to also learn how to utilize our schedule as a tool to help us meet our needs. Oftentimes when we're looking at our calendar or a schedule, the only things that we are really putting in there are work related or social related. They're typically things that we are doing for other people. But if your calendar and schedule helps you remember things that you need to accomplish in certain times of the day on certain days, why not use this as a tool to schedule in self-care time and like need meeting time as well? Self-care is never selfish. It is absolutely necessary for us as humans to be better and feel good and be able to continue being the best version of ourselves for ourselves and for other people. So just like how you would write down a dinner with a friend or date night or a work engagement, start seeing your routines and your self-care moments as important events in your life as well, and actually block in that time into your schedule for mental, psychological, and physical recharging. Find a hobby that you like doing, schedule downtime, schedule alone time, whatever it is that you wrote down that helps you meet your own needs. Block those into your calendar because those are just as important, if not more important, than the things that you do for other people. And then on the topic of the people that we have in our lives, I think it's really important to also mention that a way that you can really truly start to feel fulfilled and happy with your life and make sure that your needs are met is to curate a supportive network in your life. Like in the journal entries where we examined what are the things that energize us and drain us, start to look at who in our lives energizes us and drains us as well? Are there certain people who don't respect your boundaries and needs, even after you've clearly communicated with them? Because I think that is a bit of a difference maker as well. Because have you taken the accountability to actually communicate what your needs are? But if after you've learned to communicate your boundaries and communicate your needs, and there's still people who are pushing against those boundaries or not meeting your needs or really draining you after you hang out with them, do you really need these people in your life? There is absolutely no shame in letting go of people who no longer serve you, because at the end of the day, we are trying to create and curate a life and habits and routines and environments that help us feel good and feel fulfilled and just feel like we are living our best lives. So once you've done all the work in learning to be more self-aware and learning what your needs are and realizing what you need to have these needs feel like they're being met, it is absolutely okay and encouraged to start cutting out the things and people that aren't meeting those needs. Understanding your needs really truly is the first step to organically working towards that feeling of fulfillment and satisfaction and happiness in our lives. So the next time you're feeling a little bit off, a little bit anxious, a little bit stressed, check in with yourself and your needs inventory to see what it could be that is not living up to your expectations of what you need, so that you can work on getting those needs met and getting back to a place where you feel good about yourself. I hope this episode was helpful, and I hope it reached you at a point in your life where you really need it, because I think especially with the colder months and like the gloomier months coming, it is easy to fall into a pattern of feeling low and feeling anxious and just not feeling like the best version of you. And whenever we're going through a season where we may be feeling a lot of these negative emotions, I always go back to my needs inventory just to revisit it and reevaluate and re-examine whether the things that I know that I need as a human being are being met. And if not, how can I start to work to fulfill them more? These are always going to be the baseline things that make you feel good. It's going to be like your dopamine menu, but at the very root. And even if you're in an era or phase in your life where you feel really good and really confident and really content, it's still really important to go through this exercise and write down what these needs are at the minimum, because this level of self-understanding really is going to be the foundation that you can lean on when things do inevitably start to dip, because that is what life is, right? It's a roller coaster. There's going to be highs, there's going to be lows, but as long as we're able to keep this baseline of understanding how and why we feel good as human beings, we're always going to at least have a path or an actionable plan to get us back to that place. Again, all the books that I mentioned, as well as the journaling prompts, will be in the show notes, so make sure you go and check there. And if you've gotten this far in the podcast, thank you. I love you. Thanks for sitting here and spending this time with me. Go into the comments area wherever you're tuning in and leave me a red heart emoji so that I know you made it all the way to the end. If you enjoyed this episode and you want to help this podcast grow, then go and rate it 5 stars on Spotify and on Apple Podcasts, or share the episode with a friend that you think may also find it helpful. But that's all I got for you this week. I hope you're having an amazing day wherever you are in the world, and I will catch you in next week's episode. Bye.